I'm Lee Spencer, and I'm up in Mooresville, North Carolina at Wood Brothers Racing, and I'm here with Eddie Wood, president of Wood Brothers Racing, and had some huge news this morning, kind of surprised the NASCAR world when it was announced that Paul Menard will be retiring and Matt DiBenedetto is jumping in the iconic number 21 Wood Brothers Ford. What do you think about the news and the future of Wood Brothers Racing?
Well, like I said, we announced that this morning. When Paul told us he wanted to step back from full-time cup racing, to be with his family, and then our first question was, well, who should we get, and he right off the top of his head, he said, you need to get Matt. So, we started that, and we got a hold of Matt and started the conversation and got it done. And he was the only one we talked to. So, I'd like to thank Paul for that. Paul being a race car driver, it's easier for him than it would be us to pick a driver because he races with him. We watch it, but it's different being a part of that and knowing everybody, how they race and how they handle themselves on the track and off the track, because he sees it, he lives it, and so that's how it all came about. And Matt will be our driver, starting next year at Daytona, and we're looking forward to it.
Even though Paul just turned 39 last month, was there any indication that you saw that maybe he was contemplating this decision? Because it is a life-changing decision when you give up the kind of circus life that we live, going, from town to town and being on the road 10 months out of the year.
No, I think he just, he had probably been thinking about it, sometime, I don't really know when he started thinking seriously about it, but for him, I think it's, the right decision. Drivers are walking away earlier now than they did, when I was 39. But being a cup driver now requires so much time, not only to racetrack, just in the shop, going over things with your engineers, your crew chief, and it's just it's a full time, almost 24/7 type. I mean, it's not 24/7, but it's a really time consuming job to do it like you want to do it. And I think he's for him, he's got 2 children, and I'm really happy for him because when I was 39, we were in the middle of, racing full time, and I got 2 kids, and, I was gone, period. I was gone just like we are now, and, I missed ball games and beauty pageants and, dance rehearsals and softball games, baseball. I missed a lot of that. I saw some, but looking back, you can't get it back. And so I think he's doing the right thing for him.
He spoke so highly of the Wood brothers. He was almost a part of the family. I mean, and he kind of put himself in that position. He's such a class act, but it's curious because no one really knows Paul Menard, and he kind of likes it that way, but I have to say that the way he represented this family and the car, you couldn't have asked for more out of Paul Menard.
No, he did a great job, representing, not only us. He did a great job representing Ford Motor Company and, our sponsor, Motorcraft and Quick Lane, as well as, the company that he's, his family owns, Menards. They were really a great help to us by stepping in and helping us, have funding enough to race full time. And, Paul kept, always, keeps things happy. He's a really upbeat person and fun to be around. He is quiet, but he's a lot of fun, and he represented us really, really well. And, he's like all the other drivers we've had throughout our time, all the way, back to the very beginning. He'll be part of our family always, and I'm proud of that.
I look at the roster, and we don't even have time to mention all the people that have driven this car, whether, David Pearson and AJ Foyt, just list, that goes on and on for the people that have driven for the Wood brothers. What was it that you saw in Matt DiBenedetto that you thought he could join that list of acclaimed drivers?
Well, like I said, it started with Paul, and so once we started headed down that road, Matt's really run well lately, and he's just a good kid. He's been around long enough to know the ropes of racing at the Cup level. There's things you do, things you don't do, and he handles himself really well and does a really, really good job on on the racetrack. And so it was an easy choice.
Jack Roush used to like to find drivers that ran 20th place cars and took them to top 5, top 10s. We've seen that out of Matt, at least in the second half of the season, starting at Sonoma, where he finished 4th, and then he's just kept bringing in top 5s and another career best second place finish at Bristol, running against Denny Hamlin and racing him cleanly the way he did. Is it fun watching the maturation of some of these drivers, especially ones that don't perhaps come into the sport, with, and I don't want to sound like I'm disparaging, Paul and the fact that he's fortunate enough to have a sponsor, but, to give an opportunity to a kid that really has to work for what he's been given.
Yeah, I mean, it's, you see that a lot, kids that, that start, early in life. I think Paul started racing when he was 8, which, that's pretty young. Like now they start at 5, but, 8 years old, 20 years ago was a really young age to start, and he raced his way up similar to everyone else. He ran probably go-karts and then late models, and I think he's talking about ice cars or something. I'd like to see that. But then Matt came up. They all come up. Most of the drivers anymore, they usually start in go-karts, legend cars, quarter midget, stuff like that. It's kind of the same. It's kind of like a kid that's in, when he gets in high school, he plays high school baseball. Well, he started at T-ball, maybe, and then coach pitch, whatever, my grandkids are doing that now. So they all kind of got the same path, and it's just good to watch, how they started to where they wind up and, eventually get. I think, to me, that's a really good story.
Well, you got that with Dale Jarrett. Dale Jarrett had started to show promise, and then you picked him up, and he flourished with you guys, and they got another opportunity. I memean, you've seen guys like that come over the years. Is there anything in particular that stands out about DiBenedetto?
No, man, he's got that drive, or you can talk to him 5 minutes and he wants it. It's all about racing. It's the most important thing to him, and he's just got that drive and the want to. He wants to do it. He wants to win. So that's what it takes.
You also said during the teleconference today that you can identify a driver. If you put 10 guys in a lineup, you would know who the drivers are. What is it about a driver that stands out in particular?
I'm not sure what it is, but like I said, you could line up 10 guys and one of them be a race car driver that I didn't know, that never heard of or whatever. I think I could pick him out. Drivers have got, like I said, I'm not a driver, never drove. My kid drove, my dad drove, but they've all got this look, or they've got this demeanor about them that it just, I can see it. Maybe I'm the only one can see it. But there's something special about race car drivers. They're different from you and I. They're just they're special people, all of them. You know, regardless of who they are, what they drive, how well they've done, down to little kids. If they drive go-karts, if they drive race cars, they're different and they're special.
Can you just explain what the alliance with Team Penske has meant to the Wood brothers to have that kind of relationship, and how it's been a game changer for the number 21 team?
Yeah, we have a really, really close alliance with Team Penske, and we're really proud of that. It's Team Penske's been so successful everywhere, all over the world. You know, whether it's IndyCar or sports cars, NASCAR, they have been successful everywhere. Even in Australia, the supercars, they just won a championship over there. So being aligned with Roger Penske and Team Penske is really an honor for us. It's just it's a very special place, and they treat us like family from day one. When we first started with Blaney over there a few years ago, they treated us just like family, and they do today. And it's just really an honor to be associated with them, because they're first class group of people.
Okay, so we've got DiBenedetto in the car next year. Are we expecting to see Motorcraft and Menards continue their support as well?
Yeah, all that stuff will pretty much stay the same.
You got to be excited looking at 2020.
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited about going to Vegas next week. I mean, I've been racing a long time, but I still get, excited when you get ready to go. And there's nothing to me more exciting than when they sing the anthem. And,
To this day.
Years ago, you're probably not old enough to remember, you wouldn't admit it if you were, but the drivers used to get in the cars during the anthem, and they would sing the anthem, to do the prayer, sing the anthem, and the next thing after the anthem was sung was, "Gentlemen, start your engines." That was the coolest to me.
I appreciate your time this afternoon. I wish you nothing but luck in the future.
Thank you, ma'am.